Nets got an easy victory over the Celtics last night to go up 2-0 in their first round matchup. The big three all had strong performances. But the biggest star for Brooklyn last night was Joe Harris. He tied a franchise playoff record with 7 3-pointers and had a playoff career high 25 points in the 130-108 win. So the series now shifts to Boston for Game 3 on Friday.
We kind of knew this is what it would look like.
Yeah, I don't think I don't anticipate this being a long series. I wouldn't be surprised if Boston got a game.
I would be surprised if they won a game. Would you? Without Jaylen Brown, I would be surprised now.
I mean, look, they're not going to win the series without Jaylen Brown.
Right.
But, maybe go back to Boston. Who knows? You could get a game. What that means, nothing. It means you've got a gentleman sweep as opposed to a regular sweep. But I actually think this worked out well for Brooklyn because they did not have the opportunity for their big three to play together. Not that, the Celtics are a terrible team, but they are shorthanded. And you got to start the series at home.
Yeah.
So
very comfortable start.
Yeah, you get a nice, comfortable start into the playoffs. And look, again, that's no disrespect to the Celtics. I think if they were 100%, this would be a longer series. It's going to be tough going up against Kyrie, KD, and Harden no matter what. But I think that obviously this was more beneficial for the Nets. Durant had 26 points, Kyrie had 15, and Harden added 20. But Joe Harris, again, was the star last night. I mean, Jason Tatum had 9 points, and he got poked in the eye, so he left the game in the third quarter and didn't come back. So it was really on Kemba and Marcus to make that a game, and, it's too much. So Julius Randle was named the NBA's most improved player this season. He won by a landslide, 98 of the 100 first-place votes.
Wow.
This season, he set a career high, averaging 24.1 points and 6 assists per game, and tied his career high, averaging 10.2 rebounds per game. Really cute video we're showing right now of his son bringing out his award, wearing his jersey. It was really, really sweet. He also got selected to his first All-Star game, and he is now the first Knicks player to ever receive this award. So this is great. This is what's great about the Knicks this year. They're an incredible story.
They play tonight.
Game 2 of the series. And, so it's Sixers, Wizards first, then Knicks, Hawks, then Jazz, Grizzlies is the late game. What could get interesting is next year because the Knicks are going to have to make a decision on him. He has 1 year remaining on a 3-year, $62 million contract.
I'd love to have him as my second best player. Even third, if R.J. Barrett improves and R.J.'s 2 and Randall's a highly compensated 3, I'd be all in on that. He's could he be a more offensively gifted Draymond Green, where his leadership and his toughness is a huge asset to the organization, but he's not a gifted, highly skilled offensive player.
Well, he could sign a 4-year, $106 million max extension with New York this summer. If he hits free agency in 2022, he'll be eligible to sign the $201 million max 5-year deal with the Knicks. So they could agree on a short-term extension. But the interesting thing about what the Knicks have done this year is they've made themselves look like a destination again. And that is very important.
It is important.
There are going to be some free agents out there next year.
Yeah.
The Knicks were the laughingstock of the league. Still respected as far as a brand, but, you saw what KD did. You saw what Kyrie did. You saw what LeBron did before the Lakers, and don't want to go and deal with that dysfunction. And now they're stable again, and they're the talk of the... Well, as many stars as there are in Brooklyn, everyone's talking about the Knicks.
It's funny about this, Joy, and this is the way it's always worked. You have these big brands, and they get beaten down. Like Alabama football before Saban was a mess. 2 years later, they own the sport. USC football was a laughingstock. Pete Carroll's second year, they're a dominant program. When you have these beaten down brands that are good brands, and a lot of these young players remember, or they're a big city glamour brand,
Yep.
All of a sudden, if Philadelphia wins this year or gets to the finals, in the 70s and 80s, the Sixers were a huge brand. All it takes for these big brands is just a glimmer of, hey, it's a cool place again, and the recruits and the free agents lock in.
It's much easier for a big brand to bounce back than it is for a small brand to explode and stay consistent, because that's the DNA of the program. Every time the University of Miami wins a big game, the U is back. Every time Tiger does anything, Tiger's back. That's the Cowboys. Well, have a down year. The next year, they're all we can talk about.
Phil Mickelson, 4 years forgotten. 13 million people Sunday watched golf.
Exactly. I was so happy to sit there and watch that.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. So 2 months ago, Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo had the conversation that the team would be taking a quarterback in this year's draft. Jimmy G is back with the team after their offseason program, and after practice, he was asked how it felt to get that call and if he ever considered asking for a trade out of San Francisco.
When it initially happened, there's a million emotions that go on throughout your head, and you think of all the possible scenarios and things like that. But, at the end of the day, I want to play football. I want to go out there and win games. That's what I do.
Any of his top 5 Packer wide receivers. Probably not a coincidence. Feels a little orchestrated. Receivers supporting their man. Matt LaFleur is the head coach in a tough spot. You can tell when a crisis has developed when somebody has to go speak in front of the media and they start talking in what they call these days a word salad. They talk and don't say anything, and Matt LaFleur is a very articulate guy, but here he is talking about Jordan Love, and this is utter nonsense.
Right now, I think even as we're scripting, we're less concerned about trying to put maybe the perfect person in position to, like we would in a game plan situation. It's more about just making sure that we're putting Jordan in situations so he can continue to progress.
Word salad. That means nothing. And that's a smart guy. He's in a really tough spot. Green Bay's got a mess on their hands. My only question at this point, will Aaron Rodgers fold? I listened to a sports talk radio show yesterday, and the host is one of those hosts who likes to take phone calls. And he took them from Packer fans, and 100% were against Aaron and pro-Packers. And Aaron likes to be liked. We know that. Aaron doesn't love criticism. But Aaron has made it me versus them, and Packer Nation is behind them. And Aaron did not want it to end like Favre, and it's ending worse than Favre. And the Packer followers, bless their heart, they've seen this act before, but it all turned out okay. So a lot of them are probably thinking, it'll be okay. I'm not sure about that. But it's one thing for Aaron to no-show. But if Aaron no-shows and the receivers all don't no-show, what does that feel like? It's orchestrated. And that hurts Jordan Love too. So even if you love Aaron Rodgers and you have his jersey and you name your dog Aaron Rodgers and you've got pictures of Aaron Rodgers, it's easier to hate him when it feels like he's hurting you not just now, but he's hurting your future. You can't even develop Jordan Love on the right timeline. Now, the media is overwhelmingly still in Aaron Rodgers' camp. Packers don't love the fact that guys like me and other networks and Joy and everybody who does this for a living and every columnist and every blogger is pretty much in Aaron's camp, which is, could you get him an occasional receiver? Could you draft an occasional offensive player in the first round? Could you maybe spend a nickel and get J.J. Watt? Could you treat him at least half as nice as Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen? But Aaron is losing stuff here, too. He's losing money. He's losing fan support. And Mark Murphy is not budging. According to a story this morning, Mark Murphy will not fire Brian Gutekunst. Will not. So we have a line in the sand. And I know Mark Murphy is not going to budge because Mark Murphy, steeped in tradition, believes he has a responsibility to the Packers organization to not create a precedent where you fold to a player. And how do I know that? Because I watched it with Favre and I've watched it with Aaron Rodgers. The question is, does Aaron Rodgers have the stomach to be hated in Green Bay? And eventually some media people will turn on Aaron. You know, bloggers, cheeseheads that have blogs, that kind of thing. So that's what it comes down to. Does Aaron have the stomach? Because Mark Murphy's not going to budge. And Aaron's telling us, I'm not going to budge. And Aaron's history is he doesn't like to be disliked. He's losing money. He's losing fan support. And Mark Murphy's not budging. And I believe him. Joy Taylor with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Oh, I can't wait to see how that plays out.
I know. It's fascinating.